Welcome to the Phoenix Prosperity Podcast, where wealth meets legacy. Join your host, Tim Fergestad, as we explore the journeys of Phoenix's finest to success and beyond.
All right, this is Tim Fergestad. Thank you for joining us. Today's guest is Rob Odil, an Army veteran and former GoDaddy leader, building Genie in a book, where children become the heroes. Let's hear his success story. Welcome to the show, Robert.
Yeah, hi Tim. Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and we were talking about this before the show started. I'm a Mac nerd too, so I was loving your backdrop there on your bookcase.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a collector. Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent. Cool stuff. Okay, so how'd you get your start? It was in software engineering after the service?
Yeah, so my path is not super straightforward. Coming out of the military, I was looking for a career, and I'd always been kind of into software. So I found like a couple of gigs, like data entry and writing documentation for other software engineers, and kind of fought my way into the industry a little bit. Found myself at several small design firms doing software for design firms that wanted to break into kind of web stuff.
Okay. Was this the 90s?
Yeah, 90s for sure.
Okay.
And broke out for a little while and did consulting, and then found myself at GoDaddy as kind of a mid-level engineer, working on a product that doesn't really exist anymore, the GoDaddy calendar, and worked at GoDaddy for 15 years, working in various roles, typically software engineering, but as you mentioned, getting into senior management, and then back into software engineering, and then back into management.
Okay.
Wherever the calling was.
So what did that and the Army really, different aspects of your journey teach you about leadership?
That's a great question. I think, I had a lot of really good leaders along the way, that, modeled what I felt was like good leadership qualities. I feel like, one of the main things that I got was, my best leaders always trusted my skills.
Right.
And trusted that, I would know the extent of my skills, know when I need help, and,
Right.
know when I have it covered. And I think that's a really good quality for a leader, is to, trust the people that they're leading.
Right. Yeah. And give them the autonomy, right? Not micromanage, but the
Exactly,
support,
yeah.
to let them trust them to find their own way to get it done.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Okay. Excellent. So you ended sort of your corporate career. You said you were sort of semi-retired, and why don't you tell us a little bit about the idea for Genie and where that name came from, for Genie in a book?
That's an awesome question. So I after I left GoDaddy, I reconnected with a couple of the people that I had worked with, and one of them was moving into consulting, like trying to get into consulting. The other one had moved on to Google as a Google engineer, and the three of us sat down and talked, hashed out like ideas for projects we could work on together. Just having been
Okay,
friends.
this is post-COVID, more recent.
Yeah, post-COVID.
Okay.
Yeah, this is maybe about a year and a half ago,
Okay.
and my one partner, Mike, he was using like these early image models to make storybooks for his son Eugene.
Like Mid-Journey or something.
I think he was using like the early GPT model, which was
Okay.
what was that called? I don't recall. It's named after an artist, right? Da Vinci, maybe. I don't remember.
I don't know. Okay. Maybe.
I don't remember, but it was really terrible.
Yeah.
And he had talked about like wanting to build a site where he could turn these books into storybooks for other family or for
Yeah.
families, right?
Yeah.
Uh, a few months go on, and the models become much better, and we revisited the idea and built out a proof of concept. And then we started the company, and we named it after his son Eugene. They call him Genie.
Oh, cool.
So we put Genie in a book, which is pretty fun.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Like genie in a bottle, but it's also, I think, it fits well with the how powerful this sort of process is. Right.
Yeah,
This is almost mind blowing to me that you can generate something like that. I mean, just printing on demand by itself is revolutionary. A friend of mine came out with a book last week, and you can order it and get it shipped the next day. It was like
yeah, yeah.
and so the price point made it much more feasible.
Absolutely. Yeah, and these books have turned out really good. We found a great print on demand partner that does really high quality prints. Um, and we looked at three formats to start. One is hardcover, of course, paperback, and then we added a coloring book option with like uncoated paper. And now most recently we're looking at building comic books. Uh,
Okay.
so
Okay.
that's
That's fun. That's fun. Was there a specific book or child or customer reaction that convinced you that this concept was going to be a viable business? You should.
yeah, that's a great question. Well, I mean, with a lot of businesses, you start with like friends and family as your
Mhm.
customers,
Well,
and
yeah, you started it for your own purposes,
yeah,
and
exactly. And so we started. We built a set of books and coloring books for a friend whose kids were just going off to college, and they made books about like the one child is was going to film school, and the other one was going to be studying Spanish and I want to say anthropology, and they made stories related to their majors. So one of the books was called like Camille's Big Shot, and it was about her directing a film. And when when they gave those kids the books and they opened them up and their
Mhm.
faces lit up,
Yeah,
it was magic. It was really cool, and it made me feel like we have to get this to everyone now.
right. Well, this is. I think this is awesome for a lot of reasons, but another is at any age, right? As people leave the nest and stuff, the kids, whatever, even adults need a vision of the future, right? And our mammalian brains are very visual, right? And so if you can actually show them, right, a possible optimal future, right? Things that we can process and get behind, right? And there's going to be all sorts of things coming up, and then you have to kind of be prepared in advance to how to navigate it. And I think
Yeah,
this type of product is great for that.
absolutely. And a very similar thing happened with the comic books. We haven't launched the comic book product yet, but we've done some early testing, and it came out of a networking situation where somebody asked, instead of a kid's book, could you make my son a comic book
Hmm.
for his birthday? He's just graduating high school, and a kid's book would be too small, you know.
Yeah,
But if you could do a comic book, I'd definitely buy one. And
right.
so we worked up a proof of concept of that, and those have turned out really cool too.
Yeah, I bet. And yeah, it's kind of neat to have that option too. It's a little bit more mature, maybe, or just I don't know, less
Yeah,
adolescent
different
in
demographic,
nature. Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
How important is it that these are crafted from scratch for each one? I mean, do you have sort of, how to deal with, I don't know, bullying or how to deal with,
Mm.
rejection or, things like that? Do you have like themes that you already have like as templates and then you customize them that way, or is it all completely from scratch?
So it's all completely from scratch. We do have like a surprise me mode, which will generate just like kind of a random story about, some fantasy situation.
Hmm.
But we do have on our website like an inspiration page that shows a whole bunch of different examples and things that, people could use our books for. And
Right.
in that section, we do have a bunch of those themes around, bullying and new sibling and things
Mhm.
along those lines.
Right.
Even like potty training and, all kinds of things. And then in that section, we have make this my book, and we take the prompt from the example book and we apply it to your book, which, gives you kind of a shortcut into
Right.
that topic.
I'm a fan of tangible physical things. I invest in real estate for that reason over like paper stocks or something like that. But also a lot of people are, and it's yeah, it just it feels more significant to touch it. But do you have any sort of digital products instead of just the physical books?
So with each of our books, there's an online version, like a flip
Okay.
book version online, and then we provide PDFs. Uh, you know, and one of the things we talked about early on was, not kind of gatekeeping the content that we generate for people, but giving them, printable versions if
Right.
they want to make additional copies or whatever the case is. Um, we don't provide the ones that go to the print-on-demand provider just because the files are extremely large and most people
Okay.
are not going to want to get that. But if somebody asked for it, we would definitely give it to them. If they wanted to take it to a pod provider and do a second run.
A series or something. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, so walk us through what happens like after a parent uploads their photograph or whatever and describe sort of the adventure they want.
Yeah, so our flow goes from right now it goes from photo to characters. We do face extraction so that we can identify who's in the photos. And then you name each one of the people in the photos and give some small description of them. Uh, you pick out the story and an art style. And we have seven art styles for the kids' books. And
Okay.
it ranges from kind of your 3D to we have like a craft world, which is like everything looks hand stitched.
Hmm.
Uh, quilted, like a quilted
Right.
landscape,
Yeah.
which is pretty cool. Claymation, et cetera, like, kind of the big ones that you would expect. Uh,
Okay.
and then we generate like reference characters. And this is something that I think makes us a little bit different is that, we go through an analysis step where we pull out like, the main characters, side characters, important objects and scenes, and we render reference images of those. So then as we generate pages later on, we use those references so that everything stays consistent for the most part. Um, so so after you approve your characters, then we give you a preview, first like cover and first two pages, and that's where our paywall is. Once you buy the book, then we generate the entire book, and then we print and ship.
Okay. Okay. Very cool. Is there any concerns when you have like minors and photographs and you're uploading AI sort of I don't know, disclaimers, just disclosures or something
It
like
it
that?
can be
Concerns
tricky,
you?
and I mean we do our best to maintain privacy, of course, but we do run into situations where, um, for example, we had this book where it's like a little girl who's like the star of like a pop
Right.
band or whatever.
Hannah Montana style. Yeah.
Exactly. Uh and the AI gets a little bit squirrely when you say like, 10-year-old girl and she's dancing,
Ah,
it can cause problems. So what we've done is like we detect those errors, like those, I'm not going to generate this errors, and we regenerate it with a modified prompt. So we run the prompt for that image back through a filter that then cleans it up and makes it available.
okay. So there's I've decided this year that there's a because how do I explain this? It's almost like a different type of intelligence, right? There's emotional intelligence, there's physical intelligence, but there's also, I think, prompting intelligence.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
this ability to, whether it's other people or computers, they're very similar, right? It's if you pre-frame the situation with the right words,
yeah,
and craft it appropriately, right, to get what you want is super valuable and not necessarily intuitive. So it's a skill you get
yeah.
good at.
Yeah, it's like a new field of psychology, like AI psychology, right? The prompt
Right.
engineer is an AI
Yeah.
psychologist, which is
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, but as the psychology part of me is like realizing that probably because AI is built by humans for humans, it acts like a human too. So I mean, the same prompt engineering you do there also works when you talk to somebody else if you do it right.
Yeah,
So pretty
yeah.
fun.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think the risk is always like underspecified instructions, right? Like if you don't give it enough detail, then it veers off and, you know, you end up with, you know, crazy results, right?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. But it's, yeah, I think it's super valuable, super powerful, impactful. You mentioned working with nonprofits, I think somewhere in,
Yes.
can you talk about that a little bit and what role these personalized books play in education, healthcare, adoption, foster care, or whatever, family support?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have kind of two forks with nonprofits. One of the things that we're doing with nonprofits is kind of a commercial co-venture plan where we give them like an affiliate link, and they provided that link to their supporters, and then when their supporters purchase books, we give them like a 10% of that purchase. We're also doing kind of mission books. This is a book for a nonprofit in Virginia, and they deal with like food insecurity.
Mm.
And so in this case, this is like a story about, kids facing like hardship and kind of destigmatizing, the need for help, so that kids can then come forward and get the help that they need, whether it be food security or literacy or whatever the case may be, right?
Sure, sure. But it hits home when it's characters they know.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So uh, back to more of the Phoenix or Arizona sort of arena. Can you talk a little bit about the advantages of being in the Phoenix area for technology, the technology community that's available, right, for early stage companies?
Yeah, there really is a lot of stuff available that's been really helpful for us to get started. Um, Interestingly, beyond friends and family, we don't really have any customers in Arizona, which is, a little bit surprising. We've hit almost every other state, but Arizona has not picked up the pace.
Huh. Okay.
But there are a lot of like really cool programs through ASU and through city government. So there's an organization through ASU, a program called Endeavor, which gives you access to like some really great resources. So like office space, shared kind of like worker space. They have like a full fabrication lab uh, that they make available to entrepreneurs. You don't have to necessarily be a student or a faculty to get access to these programs, which is really cool. I just did a pitch competition through the Endeavor, and we were top five out of 250 companies that applied,
Nice. Well done.
and we got a prize of like $2,000 for that pitch,
Excellent.
which was pretty cool. Um, and then like the city of Mesa, and I know other city governments have the same type of programs, but city of Mesa has a thing called uh, Mesa Business Builders, and they have like co-working spaces. They have like a podcast studio and a AR, VR studio and equipment and everything you could need to uh, to kick off, a small business, which has really, really been helpful.
Okay, excellent. So what's next for Genie in a book and for Robert?
Yeah, so our next stage is comic books. We haven't launched it yet, but we're really excited about the comic books. And as you can imagine, my partners and I are all like, into like, kind of deep nerd culture. And so comic books kind of are a natural step for us. And it's surprising that it wasn't the first thing we thought of, but but when it was suggested, it became like, almost priority one, to get at least a proof of concept in place. And the kind of the learning curve of how to put together a comic book has been pretty interesting. It turns out that there's a whole set of panel layouts, the Kirby panels. Have you heard of this?
Jack Kirby's panels, yeah.
Yeah, and he's like documented like all the panel layouts that work from single panel up to six panels on a page. And so we're building a system where our story generation will also pick out like panel layouts for each page.
Okay.
And so we end up with, a really dynamic book that just really looks super
Okay.
cool.
Hollywood level storyboards.
It's super fun, and it's been amazing. These latest models have been pretty good uh, at putting in speech bubbles and narration boxes, and actually pointing the speech bubbles to the right people and to their faces, which is pretty amazing. Like if you look at this one, like this panel, it's really like identified where he's at and put the speech bubble right where it belongs, which is
Right.
super cool.
Yeah, yeah, very cool. So I like the comic book idea for as an option for kids who might prefer that, but also branching into the adult space a little bit
Exactly.
more
Yeah, it,
easily.
it widens our demographic significantly. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it gives us an excuse to go to like Comic-Con and other kind of nerd culture events.
Oh, sure. Yeah, yeah. I think this is awesome for gifting, right? So many people would love to be able to make, customized gifts in this sense. And so I think it's incredibly valuable. And they get to not only just put their face on something like a caricature at a fair or something, it's very deep and powerful. You can have, I mean, because stories are really how we connect with things and learn. So I think it's super exciting. Excited for
I
you,
agree
Rob.
100%.
If people would like to learn more or connect with you, where can they go? What should they do?
So you can find us at genieinnabook.com, of course. We're on Instagram and Facebook as well under the same name, Genie in a Book. And yeah, come make a book. Come make a personalized book.
Yeah, I like
Awesome.
it. I like the invitation. Come make something. All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening and watching. Thank you very much, Rob Odil, for joining me today and sharing your new adventure. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Inspired by our guests? Visit phoenixprosperitypodcast.com/guest and join us on the show and share your success story with Tim. The spotlight awaits.